Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. Today, we would be talking about the hidden revenue layer and why fan data is the most undervalued asset in professional sports. In this podcast series, we would be connecting with industry leaders from sports and technology, where we will simplify sports technology. I am Amin, your guide on this journey through amazing minds of tech leaders who are shaping the future of sports. We will dive deep into discussions and innovations driving the industry, from cloud to sustainability, from AI to cybersecurity. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. On today's podcast, we have with us Amar Alravi. He has immense experience of more than 25 years across telecom, technology, financial services, sports, and retails. He's an award winning sports business leader. Amar has built a reputation for driving transformation at scale, blending data, technology, and commercial strategy to deliver real impact across global sports. From developing first ever data and technology partnership for English Premier League to leading cutting edge AI, machine learning, and NFT integration with SailGP. His work sits right at the intersection of innovation and performance. He's also played a key role in securing landmark partnerships like the Oracle title sponsorship for Red Bull Racing in Formula One, and has worked with some of the biggest names in the sports industries, including Real Madrid, the New York Jets, the Dallas Cowboys, MLS, and La Liga. Still, he has also, and sorry, and at Hotspur, he helped redefine the modern fan experience, contributing to launch of the new stadium and increasing data acquisition by impressive 85%. We welcome you, Amar, to the podcast.
Amy, thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be with you in this podcast.
Absolutely. So, my first question, Amar, to you is, you have operated across industries for more than 2 decades. So, what do you see in sports and in other industries, like, which hasn't yet confronted a deeply emotional customer base with almost no commercial infrastructure built around understanding them?
Thank you very much. I love this question because I was very lucky that I worked across, as you mentioned, four different industries. And this is probably what helped me to see the gaps within the sports industry when I start working in the sports. Um, if you look at the other industries, like across telcos, finance, and tech, you're dealing with customers that who cares about the product, but it's still transactional. You switch bank if the rates is better in another bank. You change telcos if you find somebody is better or giving you a better value. Sports is fundamentally different. The first thing that hits me was the emotional intensity with almost no commercial infrastructure in sports around it. Fans are behaving like most loyal customers in the world. They travel, buying watches, creating content, but most clubs or most right holders still had no single view of who they are, what the fans want, and what the value and how they can serve them differently based on their needs and behaviors. I've seen this from a few single angles at Oracle when we were working with the Premier League, Oracle Red Bull Racing, SailGP, or even in my role at Tottenham Hotspurs. The pattern is the same. You've got into the Champions League level and the final Grand Prix, but you're operating with a League Two level in terms of data and system. So other industries spend a lot of time building CRM, CDPs, marketing automation, personalization engine. In sports, you still find ticketing data in silos, retail somewhere else, digital engagement in another platform, sponsorship in a spreadsheet. The result that you are ending up with a fragmented fan experience. And this is what we are fundamentally trying to change within the Game Changers, is building the gap between the fan emotion and the fan intelligence. So then we are able to give the right holders the tools and capabilities to unify data, applying AI, and redesigning and creating new product and services that is relevant to their audiences and their fans. And that is completely changing and creating a revenue stream layer without being totally focused on brand awareness and exposure.
Okay. So when you're talking about exposure, like, digital transformation has been promised ever since early 2000s. Like, so
Yes.
in your experience, what specifically makes any sports organizations harder to transform than a bank or telecom companies, and what makes them in some ways much easier?
Excellent. So, on paper, transformation of a right holder should be easier than transforming a bank or a telco because the organization of right holders are much smaller. The product is more exciting and the fans are desperate to engage. But in practice, sports is often harder for a few reasons. First, the governance and ownership. In a bank and telco, you usually have a clear strategy and more stability and long term roadmap. In the right holder, strategies can change with a new owner, with performance on track or on pitch. So the long-term tech project get interrupted by short-term performance pressures. The second element is fragmented responsibilities or responsibility of fans in telcos and other industries. They become focus more on the being customer centric. But in the sports, as I said earlier, a lot of the right holder, the ticketing report is with one person, the retail with a third person, sponsorship with another person. So there is nobody is mandated to own the end-to-end fan journey and fan experience. And then the third element is the legacy success. So match day revenue, media right, and traditional sponsorship have worked well for decades. So there isn't always a burning platform to change how the business run. Where it's actually easier, as I mentioned earlier, than a bank to change, but the some of the right holder have been, I want to call it a little bit fortunate and lazy to transform and finding the urge to transform. But those the one that will gonna be left behind if they don't start the transformation now and take it seriously and build a custodian of the fan across the organization to break the silos within the organization of right holders.
There is a report by Stats Perform in 2026. Like, they found that 81% of sports media executives have expanded the use of AI into the past year, like, recently. And that is like different from the McKinsey data, which is showing that companies are excelling at personalizing, generating data 40% more revenue than the slow adopters. So, like, my question is, if the awareness is that high and upside is that clear, why is the average sports club still operating with fragmented fan data? As you are saying, one thing is with one person, something is with the other one. And, like, why it is spread across four or five disconnected systems even today?
It's a good question, Amy. Personally, I believe some of the key reason is how most of the right holder have originally structured, and they felt that this structure is what fit for purpose. But the reason the data is still spread across 4 or 5 disconnected system uh, is basically there are a few reasons. One, when they start buying technologies, tech was bought in silos. So you find the ticketing person going and finding the best ticketing solution and platform, but they forget that they just part of that conversation. They need to connect with the fan experience team to ensure that the ticketing data are owned by the right holders. I speak to many right holders where they say, we don't get the ticketing data, or we don't get it in time, or
Correct.
it's not embedded. Retail is the same, video streaming and OTT. So each solve a local problem. So each of the person try to solve his own problem. I want to sell the ticket. I want to get the highest ticket sales, but I don't really think about the fan, as I said, as an end to end. The other thing that AI is treated as a feature, not a strategy. So the right holder think our CRM have an AI capabilities, our video streaming has an AI capabilities, but there is not a single source of truth about the fan. So all the AI is working impartial and with an inconsistent data or full view of the data. And then the third element is the skills and the capacity, right? We know that most of the right holder have a smaller teams, and
Hmm.
equally as well, there is a gap in the skill set. So even when the will is there, most of the club don't have the data engineer, the data scientist,
Yes.
the marketing operation people to stitch everything together and keep it running. And that's what we basically do at Game Changers. We deliberately flip that model around. And instead of telling the right holder that you need to spend 1 or 2 million to integrate your CRM with your e-commerce, with your loyalty, with your ticketing, we right now offer a fully managed fan experience platform that integrate all this. So you don't have to worry about the plumbing. We will do that for you. And then you care about owning and learning and about your fans in order to deliver for them the right type of experience. So then you don't have the AI engines running in silos within your ticketing or in your retail. Is building and integrating all that experience together.
So when you're talking about ticketing, like, when you do a full audit of a club's fan touch points, ticketing, it can be merchandise, the apps, the match day, socials. What is the most common place where commercial value is silently leaking even today? And is it always at the same place, or does it change depending on the market, depending on the situation, depending on the current trends, like, what is going on?
Excellent question. So one of the things that we do as part of our value proposition, which is something that I really enjoy doing with right holder, and normally it's an eye opener, is we do what we call a fan journey mapping, right? What do you think the different steps the fan in the fan experience, and you can take that as for a match attendance, or you can take it for a race attendance. I mean, any sports events attendance, pre-event, during event, post-event, or you can do it for a tourist fan, or you can do it for digital experience. So basically, what I'm saying, you can do the fan journey across different type of use cases. But what we have noticed when we did the full audit with right holders and fan journey mapping across ticketing, merchandising, app, match day, the biggest leak is almost never in a single channel. Is
Okay.
going back again to the same point that I made earlier. It's the gap between each one of them. They don't have the hand over between one platform to the other. So the pattern we see the most often is that no follow-up journey, no tailored offer, no sponsors activation.
Hmm.
It's like running a brilliant shop window and then forgotten to open the door to open the door of the shop. So if I had to pick one consistent leak, is not the ticketing digital engagement, is just kind of the connection or the interaction of content on social and web with what's happening between the digital and the physical.
So when you're talking about the digital and physical, there is another report by Stats performed back then in 2025 about fan engagement survey. They found that early AI adopters in sports are 3 times more likely to find it easier to monetize content than non-adopters. And Genius Sports data shows that fans who start following sports by the age of 14 spend 88% more across their lifetime than those who come in later. So, taken, like when we talk about these two numbers, so that the clubs investing in AI right now aren't just winning commercially today, they are compounding an advantage also. And it is going to happen over the next year, next few years, or over the next decade. So, do you think that the industry is grasping the compounding effect, or is it still treating, 1 year at a time, or, just focusing on the ROI conversions?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I don't want to generalize here, right? But many of the right holders, they consider and think about their fans as a one segment or one type of fandom, are the hardcore fans, and they tend to forget the other layers of fandom or fan base. Some of them are not the people that goes and buy every single or attend in every single game. And equally as well, it's kind of try to understand the different or kind of the your KPIs and how you're measuring your success. Is it by reach and engagement? Is it by commercial value, or is it by something else in terms of sponsorship or kind of growth or number of fans? A lot of this right holder is still counting the number of social media followers, and they still not get into the level of calculating the average revenue per user or per fan, which is something that adopted in the telcos, or the lifetime value of a fan, which is something that has been done for years in financial service. But it's basically and how you are even engaging and interacting with a younger generation, because we know that many of the traditional sports, they have a big challenge, which is an aging fan base, because they still have not been able to serve the younger fans with the right snackable content, with the right type of approaches in the right channels, with the way that is engaging with them. And sometimes you don't have to think about the fans that only watching the 90-minute games. There is a lot of people that watching highlights. There is a
Yes.
trend of watch along. So there are different new trends, but I want to go to what you've just said. When you put those two things that you've mentioned together, you get a very simple equation. AI driven personalization now, plus an early fan acquisition that give you a huge lifetime value compounding
Hmm.
in both of them. So uh, honestly, it's to be honest. I mean, again, my view is that industry is just starting to shift from campaign ROI to more of a fan experience, average revenue per fan or a fan lifetime value, to be able to identify where are the most profitable fan segments for you as a right holder, which one that is not generating the amount of revenue that you should be they should be generating. And then the most important thing, how you engaging with younger fans, how you
Yes.
engaging with the fans who are interested on the sports as an entertainment product, which is has sports, which is has gaming, fashion, and music as part of that wider ecosystem.
Correct. Like the predictive model churns like likelihood, the offer timing, segment behavior sound compelling in a pitch deck. So, what does it actually take to get a club from zero to working predictive layer? The data prerequisites, the internal politics, the minimum viable product, the version that actually moves the revenue. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, from my time at Oracle and Tottenham Hotspur, the biggest lesson was don't try to build the perfect data lake from day one, right?
Okay.
Get a usable and sometimes maybe imperfect predictive model that inform one real commercial decision. Prove the value, and then earn the right to expand it. That's exactly how we approach it at Game Changers. We come with a pre-built model for churn, engagement, and spend. Plug it straight away into your system to focus on the first 90 days on one or two use cases that everyone can see the value. Many of the right holder, and again, this is something that I have seen, and I have done it by the way. I have to admit, I've done that mistake before. You go and try to build a fan experience platform with the best in breed technology, right? So I remember when I was trying to look at developing the requirement document for the marketing automation and CRM, thinking about the best and most expensive technology platforms from Oracle to Salesforce to Adobe to Microsoft. I don't want to just mention one example, but and then you look at the video streaming platform, then you look at the loyalty platform, then you look at the ticketing, then you look at the e-commerce. Oh my God. I mean, in order to build that fan experience platform, you're talking about 1 to 2 million to £3 million or dollars cost of building a fan experience platform. If you are a small right holder, or not when I'm saying, if you are a right holder, which is in nature a mid to small organization, do you need an enterprise platform with that complexity if you are start crawling? No, you need to think about a more smaller, agile tech that helps you crawl, walk, and then run. Don't go and buy F1 car if you don't know how to drive. There is an Uber in this world right now, which is what we claim to be. We are in the Uber in the world of fan experience. So we're offering fan experience as a service rather than a point solution.
Correct. When you talked about Formula One, my next question is related to that. Saudi Arabia is investing at a scale in sports that has no modern precedent, like football, golf, boxing, F1, esports. But investments in events and infrastructure doesn't automatically build the fan data, the layer. So, what is actually digital maturity of fan monetization in the Gulf region right now? And where is the gap between the ambition, the execution, or is it not visible?
No, I mean, in the Gulf area and GCC is very exciting, and we personally work in that region with a number of one of some of the biggest right holders there, and it's very exciting times, and probably one of the most fascinating case studies right now, and maybe unprecedented. We have seen all this amount of investment and events that is happening into single region. Let's hope that current turmoil come to an end so that is resumed. But you have got unprecedented investment in many sports as you've mentioned. But in terms of fan monetization and maturity, I would say that this is the biggest gap between ambition and execution. The risk is that you will end up with millions of people experiencing sports in the region, but their data and loyalty sit with the global platforms, the broadcasters, the ticketing vendors, not the local clubs or leagues or organizations or organizers of the event. The opportunity is equally big because there is less legacy tech platform that we see here in Europe. So the Gulf and the GCC and the Middle East in general, and we've seen some really great example as well from Egypt outside of the GCC, they can leapfrog straight into AI-enabled unified fan data platform and design monetization around segments and the average revenue per fan from the start, rather than to try to see what are the legacy platform that they have taken before. So we are very excited about this, but definitely with that excitement, with all this big title event that is happening, they must put the fan at the center of everything is done. Fan data should be a core infrastructure investment in order to get the value. The biggest asset for any right holder, if you think about any right holder, they got big three assets, right? They got the venue, whether they own it or rent it in the F1 world, and that has been monetized and optimized to a certain extent through attendance, F&B, and experience, and there is a lot of work to be done there. But it has a limited capacity, 365 days, 24/7. You got your athletes who are consumed on, and the heroes of the show, and they consumed in performing the sports and their media rights. But the biggest asset most of the right holder yet to exploit are the fans. So those three assets, your venue, your athletes, the fans, the biggest revenue will gonna come to you from investing on your fan data and being able to deliver a fan experience within the experience economy or the entertainment industry.
Absolutely. There is a report by Oliver Wyman and the World Economic Forum that puts the global sports economy on a path of almost $4 trillion by 2030, but also warned of a potential around $500 billion revenue loss if digital engagement risks aren't addressed. So separately, the Middle East sports market is also growing at 6.4 CAGR amongst the fastest few regions. So for a market expanding that fast with that much capital, but fan data infrastructure that is still very early, it's on an early stage, is the opportunity compressing or widening? And who captures it if the clubs don't build capabilities themselves?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the opportunities is there and here and now. If local clubs, right holders don't build the capability themselves, someone else will capture that value, right? So in that scenario, the region is still growing in visibility and event revenue, but the most defensible asset, first party fan intelligence, right? The upside that Middle East is still relatively early in the journey, as we mentioned. There is a window now to build regional playbook, shared data infrastructure, AI-enabled fan experience platform that makes local entity the primary owner of fan relationship. And we have seen that the Premier League, who have for many, many years operated as a B2B organization, and they always kind of in their mind, the clubs within the Premier League own the fan relationship. We've seen the move from the Premier League moving into direct to consumer approach. But that comes with its own complexity. You need to be ready before you move into this, because you are gonna, instead of serving and selling your rights into broadcaster who distribute it to the fans, you are moving from maybe a hybrid model, which is in the case you have the broadcaster, but in the region where you don't have a main broadcaster, you are ready to offer a direct to consumer proposition, which is enable you to engage with those fans. So basically, again, that's where we are focusing a lot in our thinking at Game Changers, how we help markets in the Gulf skip that decade, or kind of move away in order to own that fan relationship, in order to develop a diverse sports sustainable commercial model within the region.
Absolutely. From your day one till today, it has been more than 2 decades, and you have been watching the gap between the organizations say about customer data and what they actually do with it. So, in sports specifically, like as you have worked in like 4 domains, but I would like to ask about sports specific. How much of what gets sold as AI powered intelligence is genuinely transformative, and how much is sophisticated looking, dashboards that nobody in the commercial team actually opens on a Monday morning?
Yeah, I mean, across the industries, but especially in sport, there are often a big gap between what gets sold and what get used, right? So AI split AI power fan intelligence into three buckets. Most of what I see in sport today still sits in the first two categories. It's helpful, but not transformative. The transformative stuff is when, again, when I was an Oracle and we saw the value of a platform like the Paddock with Rebel Racing loyalty program, and the Dock with the SailGP was one just front end experience, and it was behavioral fan data about modeling behind them and what the fan behavior is all about. So the breakthrough come when insights were wired into the way we sold, not just report after fact. It's about the predictive model that we are able to build in order to understand and capture, as I mentioned before, all the fan digital and physical touch points. And we have taken that lesson to the heart. We measure success not by how beautiful the dashboard look like, but how often it's forced a different decision on Monday morning, right? So this is the most important thing, is that you taking it from, oh yeah, it's helpful, it's just giving me, in order to become more predicting and predictive models in terms of using the AI capabilities and agentic AI in order to be able to understand the fan behaviors and being able to say, oh, that last game was lower attendance. No, I want to know what is the prediction for the next game. And
Correct.
if I know that it is likely to be lower attendance, what could I do in ticket pricing? What could I do to incentivize sponsors to play a role in fan activation? What should I do in making it easier for fan to have a great experience?
Absolutely. One last question, Amar, is there is a discussion or an argument going on that clubs and leagues who figure out fan data in the next 3 years will have a structural commercial advantage than the late movers, which won't be able to close, not just because of the data asset itself, but because of internal capabilities that gets built around it. So do you agree that the window is actually closing, or is that just a vendor story?
Uh, there is definitely some vendor threat in the way this gets marketed, right? Buy this now, or you will be left behind. But I
Hmm.
don't think that there is a real structural window for 2 or 3 years. Uh, First, data AI compound if you spend in the next 3 years. Second, platform effect. The more you know about your fan, the better experience you create. The better experience, the more fan are willing to log in with you, share, buy, and stay with you, which turn give you more data. And that flywheel spin faster if you start today than if you start in 2025 or 2026. So I would say you need to become, and again, as I said, I mean, we do have a product that's called fan assessment capability test. Do your fan experience maturity assessment, do your fan journey mapping before you jump and go and start saying, oh, I really have the money and I can buy an F1 car. Just learn how to drive. And sometimes you might find out that you don't need to buy a car. You might go and get an Uber. And this is what we try to help organization in Europe and in the Middle East, understanding where are their fan experience assessment, do a fan journey mapping, map out the different data points and digital touch points that across the fan journey, break the silos in order to accelerate and know how to use data and AI. Again, just don't use AI if you just don't have not unified your data first, because you need to do that. Don't use AI if you still the ticketing data are still sitting with the ticketing platform. You need to own that data, or you need to have a partners. Again, us, and we are one of them, but there are others as well that are able to help you own that data and get the right level of intelligence and capture the fan values from that data across the different channels.
Perfect. Amar, we'll move on to the next segment of the podcast. That's rapid fire questions. I'll ask you a few questions and you'll have to be very quick in answering. It's one
Oh,
word
why?
or,
Okay.
yeah, one word or one sentence max.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm ready as I can be.
Okay. If your career had a movie title, what would it be?
Ooh, I would say from turnstile to algorithm, the fan experience story.
Okay. Coffee or chaos? What fuels your work days more?
A double shot of both. Coffee for focus and chaos for creativity.
Absolutely. One skill you have that's totally unrelated to your current job.
I draw and I love drawing, and I do a lot of creative work and drawing. I used to paint and be an artist.
Wow, interesting. Early bird or night owl when it comes to productivity?
It's a mix of both. So early bird for strategy, night owl for creativity. So I definitely use both time zones. Don't
Okay.
sleep.
Okay. Not good, but it's okay. If you could swap roles with any sports person for a day, who would it be?
Oh, for sure, a Formula One, Rebel Racing, Formula One race engineering on the Grand Prix Sunday. All data, all the pressure in real time.
Absolutely. What's your go-to I need inspiration hack?
Walk in an empty stadium, then see it when it's full. It reminds me why the fan experience matter. The amount of passion and energy that you see, it just moves
Absolutely.
mountains.
True. One buzzword you secretly dislike, but it's still there.
I probably have used it twice today. It's an ecosystem. I hate how vague it is, but it's still live. We still live in it. I have mentioned it twice in this podcast.
Okay. If your team described you in one word, what would it be?
Ah, one word only. Um, I would say relentless about the fans, the detail, and the outcome of how could we deliver value.
Perfect. We'll move on to the next segment. There is one question which you will have to answer in 30 seconds. Like, what is the role of AI in the hidden revenue layer of why fan data is most undervalued asset in professional sports?
Um, for me, AI is the engine that turned fan data from a marketing byproduct into a true revenue asset. Most right holder, again, as I said, already sit on heaps of data from ticketing, retail, content, and social, but it's scattered. AI lets you unify it, predict who will buy or churn, and personalize journeys at scale and experiences scale. That where the hidden revenue layer lives. in a smarter ticketing and pricing and high value membership and sponsorship sold on fan behavior, not just a branding exercise. Once you do that, you stop counting followers and social media followers and start compounding fan value year after year. Because I remember even my time at, I'm not going to mention any of the right holder, but go there, oh, we have this number of million of followers on social media. But the key question, what do you know about those social media followers? Who knows about your fans? It's a Facebook, it's a Instagram, it's a TikTok, but you as a right holder don't know much about those fans. So once you learn about the fan behavior, and you are going to transform your right holder from selling, becoming an advertising company that's selling newspaper ads and billboards in street, into a digital or media company like Meta and TikTok and other kind of digital media companies.
Thank you, Amar, for the amazing podcast what we had today and for your time.
Amy, it's been such a great pleasure to be with you today. I wish you all the best and wish everyone is listening to us to invest in data and spend all your time learning about your fans and fan behaviors.
Absolutely. So everyone listening, as Amar said, like please share this episode with all the people who love sports and technology for more understanding on fans, on data, and let's stay in touch. If you have any questions, just comment in the LinkedIn section or on YouTube, and I and Amar will try to get in touch with you and answer your questions. We will meet in the next episode next time. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.